guys, and welcome back to my studio and my channel. I'm Angie. I'm a mixed media textile artist, and I love working with color. I love the process of making art, and I especially love sharing it with you here on this channel. When I make my abstract pieces such as these, I use a transparent textile ink or textile paint, and I use them interchangeably. When I first started, I used a transparent paint straight out of the jar, but it wasn't transparent enough for me. So I started adding transparent medium to try to make it a little bit more transparent. And I kept adding medium and adding medium and adding some more medium. And then it finally dawned on me, why don't you start with medium and add a little color? So over time, I experimented with my formula, and now I use a custom base that's mostly transparent medium with just a little bit of white. In today's video, I want to show you how I make my custom base. So let's move over to the other camera and I'll show you how I do it. To make my custom base, I only use two products, and they're from a company called Spectra Chem, and they're out of Lodi, New Jersey, and they make a line of both solvent-based and water-based inks for screen printing. I'm using the products from their water-based inks, and it's called RFU, which stands for Ready for Use. Now I use a clear base and I mix it with a white base. And the reason I do a custom mix is the white base is very, very heavily pigmented. And you'll see this when we move over to the overhead camera. And the clear base has no pigments in it. The white is very stiff and it makes your fabric stiff. So by blending the two in the proportions that I use, I'm able to get a base that meets my need for my printing on my fabric. In addition to the two bases, you'll need some type of mixer. I use my stand mixer, and I do actually use both attachments to it, the whip attachment, and I'm not sure what this other attachment's called. And you will also need a large mixing spoon, and I like to keep a wet cloth or a damp cloth handy because I'm very messy, and you'll see as we're mixing this, I get ink everywhere, all over me, all over the table, all over anything that's close to me. So now that we know what we need, let's move on over to the overhead camera and I'll show you how to mix this custom base that I use. Before I get to start mixing, I want to show you the difference in the consistency between these two. This smaller container is the white, which has a lot of pigment in it. I would say the consistency of this is probably like a very, very stiff drywall paste. As you can see here, it's very stiff. Okay, it just sticks to the spoon. Whereas the consistency of the clear is probably more like sour cream. So the white has a lot of pigment in it, and when I first started mixing, I didn't know any better. I would take and add the white to the clear, and it would take a ton of clear to get me to where I want it. But I've since learned I need to add the clear to the white. And another problem I had with adding the white to the clear is it would get very, very lumpy. I could never get it smooth. So I'm going to try adding the clear to the white and mixing it. I have one of these immersion mixers, and in the past I've used this little attachment, but I think this time I'm going to try using this attachment and see if I can't get this white to be a little smoother. I don't know, I've not used this attachment on it before, but hopefully I'll find out that this works a little better. So I'll put this on. I do have a wet cloth here off to the side because I know this is going to get messy. I'm going to try mixing this up a bit first, see if I can't get this a little smoother because this is very stiff and lumpy. So hopefully this works. That seemed to have worked a bit. So now I'm going to start adding my clear. I started off with 1 cup of white, and I'm going to add this entire gallon, or as much as I can fit into this container of this clear. So the proportions of that would be approximately 16 parts clear to 1 part white, because I want to make up this entire gallon. Now if I was making a smaller batch, let's say maybe a cup, using the same proportions, I would use 1 tablespoon of white to 16 tablespoons of clear. And that would keep my proportions the same. I can always add more white to make the my base more opaque if I need it, but if I add too much white at this point and went back and tried to make it transparent, I would end up needing a lot of clear to make a transparent base. So I would rather make it too transparent at this point, and if sometimes I need it more opaque, I can always add more white. Besides, when I go back and add the pigments themselves are pretty opaque. So when I add the pigment, it's going to make the paint just a little bit more opaque. So I'm going to see if I can't get that out of the way. So I'm just going to add this clear. You can see that this is still a little lumpy, but it's much better than what I've achieved in the past. So I'm going to switch over to the whip attachment, if I can get it to stay on. I was having trouble with that other one staying on. Okay, well this one feels like it locked in place. So I'm going to switch over to this attachment, continue adding the clear base, and hopefully getting a nice smooth mixture with this. Oh yeah, this is mixing up much better this way. I'm so glad I thought of the idea of mixing that white or the clear into the white, because when I mixed the white into the clear, it was just so lumpy. It was sometimes hardly usable. So just that little bit of white, 1 part white to 16 parts clear, turn this clear from a transparent base to a semi-transparent base. Okay, and so this will be the base for all of the colors that I use in my artwork. I like mixing my own colors, and I want them to be, most of the time I want them to have a lot of transparency to it. So I go ahead and create my own base. So I'll just mix this up a little more, and I usually mix it up before I make a batch of color. Just take a big paint stick and come in here and mix. Well guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you found this information useful, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I want to thank the people that have already subscribed to the channel. It really means a lot to me that you take time out of your busy life and come spend a little bit of time with me. So what I want to know is, do you ever take a product and customize it to meet your needs, such as I've done with the acrylic textile paint and ink? If so, let me know down in the comments below what you do and why you do it. Well, as I said, that's it for today's video. I hope to see you back here again sometime soon. But until then, have a beautiful day.